Moving on, the world-class international standard 911 system used in the United States and Europe now in the country. NGA 911 Philippines partners with the interior and local government to introduce cutting-edge technology in emergency response. 3 months ago, the NGA 911 activated its first command center in Morong, Rizal, making it the first town in the country to have the global 911 system. And to talk more about this, we're joined by the co-founder, Don Ferguson, and NGA 911 Philippine President, Ishka Villacisneros. Don and Ishka, thank you so much for joining us here on Headstart, and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Morning. Good morning. Ishka, I want to ask first, of course, everybody is familiar with the 911 system used in USA and in the United States. How do you think it will actually work here in the Philippines, Ishka?
So actually, Migs, that's a question we often get from the LGUs as well as the citizens. And you'll be shocked that we just went live with 911 using our technology yesterday with the Philippine National Police and DILG. And when you actually make a call right now to 911, the response time was about 4 minutes, which is also the standards in the United States. Previously, I think it's about 1.5 hours on the average.
Now, Don, of course, with the ones that are getting to know this, getting to know the flow in the system, for example, take us through the journey of a caller. What's the flow like? What can callers expect? Ishka mentioned it's 4 minutes, but more or less, what will be through that workflow?
Well, first, we're pleased to bring the next generation of 911 to the Philippines. We're happy that the Philippines is leading the ASEAN region in 911 now. And we're thankful to Secretary Abalos for his leadership in this area. And the expected call flow is really quite simple, and it's unified, and it's consistent and the same across the entire country. You dial 3 digits, 911, and no matter where you're at, that call will land at the nearest responder who will take your call immediately and know your location, be able to answer your call, 911, what's your emergency? Based on that emergency, they'll be able to follow a certain set of protocols. And because they know your location, they can deploy help immediately to your location. We've seen, as Ishka has shared, that this is having a direct response, positive response, an impact on response times, and thereby is improving the reliance and the understanding that 911 ought to work for each and every Philippine citizen.
Now, Ishka, just to establish, I know this is a basic 101 question, but what kind of emergencies can a caller report? And at the same time, which agencies of government are you in collaboration with besides the PNP?
Okay, so this project is actually spearheaded by the DILG to support the Revitalize 911 project. And the kind of emergencies that you can report is you have fire, you have police, and I know you also have VAUC, like violence against women, and the 911 Commission. So you work with BFP, PNP, even Red Cross, and a lot of the DRRMO offices for LG.
So it's very vital that it is in collaboration with the BFP, the PNP. Of course, you mentioned the Philippine Red Cross for any type of emergency. Don, what are the key elements for the system to be successful in the Philippines?
Well, if I could add to that, this 911,
sure.
911, you're bringing in these protocols in this system that has served the United States very well, and really, what it will encourage is that if you just don't feel comfortable with a situation, if it feels like maybe not
you're in danger.
Maybe not a crisis, just maybe not comfortable, then you ought to feel comfortable dialing 911 and getting a real expert to help and assistance in that situation. So it doesn't have to be an insane crisis. It can just be a point where you're not comfortable. And And really the things that make it work are location. That's where it starts. This is new for the Philippines, knowing where you're located. And we've done that in partnership with companies like Google to ensure that that your location is known. And of course, once that's known, you can get direct routing, immediate routing, and accelerate response times. We expect now to carry that to new levels with streaming video. So we really want to increase the situational awareness. So not only are you accelerating the delivery of the call and the response, but also you're getting greater situational awareness when you actually arrive on the scene.
Can you talk more about that streaming video? What's that like, Don?
Well, if you can imagine, there's many use cases where video or streaming a video from someone who needs help or needs assistance or doesn't feel comfortable would really help the responders. So, for example, if there's someone suspicious that I notice and I want to contact 911, the 911 can send a link that you can click on and you can stream that video up to the 911 center. And that's stored and retrieved and, of course, can be followed up with investigation. You can move to even more use cases that are maybe not so simple to deal with. Abduction, where you can capture videos or pictures of the perpetrators and ensure a faster response to really identify who needs to be targeted in the case of crime.
So it's great, Don, that it has only evolved. It has now evolved when it comes to the emergency response. It's not merely by calling, because sometimes in the height of the situation, when you are in a crisis, when someone is in a crisis, someone can't even speak. Someone cannot even, articulate what is going on in that crisis. So at least there are also alternative modes of reporting these immediate crises. Don, staying with you, can you talk more about your pilot testing in Morong? And of course, Ishka, you can add to that.
So, yeah, so we have been working here with hand in hand with the Philippines government for several years. We had to build a 911 infrastructure similar or exactly the same of what we built in the US. That took some time. And then when we were ready to go live, we wanted to pick some lower population areas where, let's say, the bugs could be worked out. Because the Philippines is different, it's a new infrastructure, and the leadership in Morong and Alaminos, they stepped up and they were happy to help. We were able to, through their cooperation, really iron out and prepare for this launch, which was yesterday at the event where His Excellency President Marcos actually announced this at the Philippines National Police anniversary.
Ishka, you want to add more on the experience in the pilot testing in Morong?
Yeah, so as Don mentioned, Morong, Alaminos, they're the first movers, but we've been trying to bring this to the country for a couple of years now, and we've touched, I'd say, about 400 LGUs, and we have a really huge, I'd say, pipeline and inquiries, and I want to make sure that we'll implement this in the country in the next, at least in the next 5 years.
Now, Don, from an IT perspective, from a system perspective, it's different in the US and in the Europe where it's all but it's all land, right? It's not really an archipelago, no islands, actually. When you talk about the United States and Europe now, Philippines is an archipelago full of islands in between, right? So what are the challenges you think? Is that like a challenge that you'll see along the way also?
Yeah, the challenge is that we are able to stay focused on delivering a 911 system rather than enjoying all the beauty of your country. That's the challenge. But in terms of technology, it is the same technology that is running the state of California, Louisiana, West Virginia, Oklahoma, that is running in the Philippines. There are every implementation is different. And in the Philippines, some of the uniqueness is the geography, many islands, as you mentioned. So 911 can never fail. 911 needs to what we call very highly resilient and highly available system, because you don't want to lose even one call, because that one call that you lose could be your son or daughter needing help when help is needed most. That's how we think about it. So some of the nuances and the ways that we've dealt with the diverse geography is partnering with companies like Starlink to make sure that in areas where you don't have fiber connectivity, that you're able to supplement that with a diverse satellite network. That would be one of them. Also, the mapping overlays that Incident Command can map those incidents is also specific to the Philippines as well.
Now, Don, an elephant in the room, our viewers may wonder, is of course the response time. 4 minutes, that's great. But of course, you also have your external factors, at least in Metro Manila. I'm sure you know of Metro Manila traffic. So, I mean, how can that be addressed, you think, with the system? And maybe it's not in your line of area already, but of course, that has been discussed. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's 100% in our line. And someone told me just the other day that Manila is number one on TomTom's list of most difficult cities to navigate during rush hour. It's very slow. And they took some measurement about how long it gets from point A to point B.
Sure.
So part of NextGen 911 is not only the initiation of the call, the delivery of the call with location, the ability to string together every center across the country to back each other up, but it's also all the intelligence that's gathered during that incident. So, for example, you would know any clusters of incidents, you would know a response time, and you get this all analyzed by, as you collect the data, you get this analyzed by AI. This can help you place ambulances and police cars, schedule shifts, establish optimal staffing to handle the peak level of calls, because there are patterns to 911. We know this from the US experience. You just have to run the system, gather more data to make it optimal. So there are challenges in any deployment. The Philippines, Manila is no exception, and you can handle those with really exact empirical data and the proper analysis of that data. And that's really what Next Generation 911 brings. And that's really the most exciting, so that we can get a consistent response time across the country, no matter where you're at.
Also, Don, I'm curious, how do you handle bogus calls? At least if you experience it in the US, for sure there are going to be some illegitimate calls that we'll experience.
There's a combination of different calls. What we've seen is there are people who will test the 911 system to make sure it works. We encourage that, right? You want to make sure that you dial 911, you reach a 911 dispatcher, and it feels good, like someone's got your back. Those are good. We have also noticed that there are prank calls. People who call 911 and they report a false incident for many number of reasons. And the way to handle that is through regulation, and to actually establish fines, heavy fines, for those sorts of calls. That's why the Next Generation 911 is not only technology, it is also regulatory and
enforcement.
Exactly. It's a whole ecosystem, and we have worked hand in hand to bring that knowledge from the US to leadership within the government here. So I think the real handling for prank is that we know your number, we know your location, right? So it's just a matter of issuing the fine to that person. And sure enough, through measures that some PR establishing the fact that when you tie up vital public safety resources like 911, you will be fined, and media outlets such as yourself making that known is really going to help as a strong deterrent to those activities.
Well, we all hope that this NGA 911, this new technology, existing technology new in the Philippines, will be very vital and successful, of course, to the safety and security of the Filipino people. Last question, Ishka, I'll ask this to you, and then Don, you can add. How can this be successful in the Philippines, Ishka?
So I think that the success of this whole project comes from the leadership, from the LGUs, from the provinces, and really from the top, from the ILG, since they are implementing this project. But at the same time, I think that the citizens should be educated that 911 is working because we just need like more demand of like 911 calls. So this way it's going to get the attention of the leadership that, hey, we need to focus on saving lives, and this really works.
All right, Don.
So it's two ways.
Don, parting.
Yeah, sure. The 911 is trusted in the U.S. When you dial the digits 911, you know that you are going to get help no matter what it is. A fire truck, police, EMS. And working and making that consistent and making sure that folks understand when they are not comfortable, they can dial those digits and get that response and receive help is really the solution to building the trust in 911. So I think at this point, the technology is deployed, the regulatory is being enhanced to support the deployment, and it's just a matter of just letting it roll out and educating the citizens on the evolution of 911 within the Philippines.
Right. On that note, thank you very much, Don and Ishka of NGA 911 Philippines. Thank you for your time. Good morning from Manila. I know you've had a trip, Don, a couple of days ago. Ishka, thank you as well. Thank you for joining us here on Headstart.
Thank you.
Thank you.